Hello there and good morning. It's the 26th of April, fine Thursday morning. I hope you're enjoying the fine sunny weather that we had yesterday, preceding the day where it was very rainy. The meteorological department says that the rains are going to continue, but let's hope the sun will continue to us. Today with us we have two very interesting guests to discuss a very pertinent issue to the day with especially related to child health. We have in the guest Professor Aswini Fernando, President of the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians. Welcome, Professor.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Sri Lanka. And also child psychiatrist Professor Hemamali Pereira. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is indeed interesting, Professor Fernando, that autism, the disease as we have heard it, has a relation to the word. What does it mean really, autism?
Yes, the terminology autism has come from the word autos, which means within oneself almost. Because these children have this inability to relate to others most of the time. So they are sometimes, as it were, in a world of their own. So that's how the terminology came.
Right.
And there are three main groups of symptoms we see in these children. One is their difficulty or their inability to communicate. Now while I'm talking to you, Harit, I'm using speech, verbal communication, and at the same time there's non-verbal communication going on. I'm interacting with you, I'm using gestures. So these children have problem with both verbal and non-verbal. So their speech and language development is a problem, and the non-verbal aspect is also a problem. So they have, as it were, a problem with communication.
Right.
That's one. Then they have a problem with social interaction.
I see.
Okay. Children, as they grow up, interact in different ways with their peers, with their parents, with other relatives. They have a problem with social interaction. And the third major category they have of symptoms are that they have this repetitive behavior pattern, stereotyped repetitive behaviors. And if they are disturbed from those behaviors, they can get quite upset and maybe sometimes aggressive. So these are the three main categories of symptoms that identify these children. Now there is a wide spectrum. Some children will have more of one and the others will have more of the other. And even when they have all three, some will be more affected and the others will be less affected. So that's why we call it autism spectrum.
I see. Okay. I also understand, Professor, that there is some mystery with regarding the cause of this. Can you elaborate?
Yes, intensive research has been done. There is a definite genetic link that has been shown, but the exact cause, there are certain genetic problems that have been identified, but definitely the exact role. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Like if we take Down syndrome, we know that it is due to a particular chromosomal abnormality, but in autism, we don't have that as yet, that there is one thing. So there's definitely a genetic role here, but together with environmental factors.
I see.
So that's what we think at the moment, that there's a combination of genetic involvement as well as environmental factors.
Now, with regard to that, Professor Pereira, I think we discussed even before the show that one of the main important elements of this issue is that early detection should be done. Now, you are involved with the program at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. Can you tell us a bit about why early detection is so important and how the program does your part with regard to the same?
Yes. The reason why early detection is so important is, if you look at what the basis of autism is, or the disturbance in function in these children, it's based in the brain and the development of the brain.
Right.
So if you look, usually if there is a problem in the brain, people take scans and brain scans, but such abnormalities won't show in the ordinary brain scans that we have, because it's a functional problem. Its function essentially means how the brain connections are formed to fulfill certain functions as human beings, like dealing with other people, communicating, associating other people, and basically living in a social world. And that's the biggest handicap these children with autism have, as Professor Aswini said, that they are not connected with the rest of the environment. So they tend to be solitary, they tend to be isolated more, but that also means that the need to develop communication may be hindered. So therefore, using speech and language to communicate with others is the main visible handicap that parents may be able to detect. But when you are targeting intervention to correct the problem, you have to first start with the intervening in this problem in connecting with other people, or the connectedness that children have with others.
I see.
And early intervention is needed because to change the brain function, you need fairly intense stimulation starting very early,
as possible,
because later on the outcome may not be that satisfactory.
I see. Now, coming back to you, Professor Aswini, we discussed a bit about the WHO also making a significant statement in 2007, and because the numbers of autism have increased. I understand in Sri Lanka, 1 out of 93 children have autism. So can you discuss the increase of the number of factors, what relates to this increase, as well as the importance given today with autism?
In 2007, the United Nations passed a resolution that is on a request by a representative from Qatar, actually, interestingly, and they wanted to raise awareness of this problem. So they declared April 2nd every year as World Autism Awareness Day, because they thought that it is very important to get people to be aware of this issue so that early detection will help these children. And also they wanted the member states to be committed towards helping these children with autism. So that this happened in 2007. So actually the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians have tried to also have some program on that day and try to increase awareness, which we did this year as well. Right. The whole idea being to try to increase awareness amongst people who are working with children, as it were.
Right.
So as Hemamali just said, if we pick this problem up early, there's no medication for this, there's no drug, as it were. Only a handful of children will need medication, and they have other problems. They may have epilepsy, fits or seizures. They may have hyperactivity. Only those children, that's a handful, will need treatment. The therapy here, early intervention therapy with speech and language therapy, with occupational therapy and behavioral therapy. If we can get those therapies in early, so early intensive therapy, the earlier we start, people have shown that the results are much better. Yeah. So this is why even the United Nations resolution came about. So the whole stress should be on early detection.
Early detection.
Yes.
Right.
And I think these two books that I will hold up now to the cameras, every mother and father in this country, I think, knows about this. This is the Child Health Development Records, one in pink and one in blue for children. Every child, there are 300,000 children born every year, 300,000 plus children born every year in Sri Lanka, and every child should have one of these books. This is called the Child Health Development Record. Now, this has a whole wealth of information for parents. It gives the basic details about their birth in the first few pages, about breastfeeding and all of that. Then we get the growth, the immunization record and the growth chart. Now, our parents are wonderful. Most of them are very much aware of this and they follow this very carefully. I would like them, while doing that, to get involved. There's so much information in the next few pages about the development of the child. The
Can you hold it up a bit?
Yes, the neurological development of the child, where they themselves have to tick off certain developmental milestones. We call them milestones because we expect children to achieve certain abilities by certain ages. Let's say, for example, we expect a child to start sitting up by 6 months. So there is in these charts areas where the mother or father should tick off, saying, yes, my child has achieved this. Now, we find sometimes that...
Let me interrupt you, Professor. We'll continue after a quick commercial break. We'll come back with the professors with so much to discuss, and with this and continue on to what signs you actually practice that you should see in your child to see whether they're in fact autistic or not. We'll come back after a short commercial break.